Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Jenny. I'm from JennyCard Designs. My YouTube channel contains content that is intended to share paper crafting tutorials and inspiration with all of you. Today's video marks the beginning of a monthly series of product inspiration using products from the Glitter and Ink Craft Store in Belleville, Ontario. The website and information for the store is listed in the description down below, along with all of the products that I use in today's video. Okay, so let's start with today's crafty project. In today's video, I'm going to be using a Hero Arts clear photopolymer set. It's got a beautiful floral arrangement and a bunch of sentiments on it. The font in this set is really pretty. It's an elegant script, and I think it's really nice to make some all-around versatile cards. So in today's video, I'm going to be making a set of note cards using this large floral stamp and a really cool technique that I hope that you'll enjoy. So I'm starting with the large floral element. I'm going to get it loaded up onto my cardstock and get it picked up with the door of my MISTI. And then I'm going to ink up this stamp with JennyCard Designs Black Onyx ink. This is the first time using this stamp set, so I ink it up quite a few times to make sure I get a nice dark impression and make sure that any of that manufacturing residue that usually is left behind on photopolymer stamps, make sure that's all gone. So I'll get that stamped until I have a nice dark black impression, and then I'm going to repeat this 4 times. So I'm going to have 4 floral panels to create my note card set. So once those are all stamped, I'm going to grab a piece of craft foam. And this is just your regular fun foam, nothing fancy here, just no adhesive or anything on it, just regular white craft foam, and I'm going to stamp my image onto the craft foam. Now, I didn't use a permanent ink, and I probably should have here. By the end of this video, my fingers were full of black ink. So if you have some archival ink or StazOn ink, then that might be a little bit better of a choice than dye ink. What we're going to do is cut out the large florals in this arrangement. I'm not going to worry about the greenery. I'm just going to go around and cut out those 3 large flowers. And once I get all of those cut out, I'm going to use these as stamps. Craft foam stamps beautifully. It takes to ink very well, and you get a nice solid, dark, clear impression when you stamp with craft foam. I'm just cutting out right along the lines of the stamped flower, and then I'm going to grab my MISTI. So I put the piece of cardstock into the top right corner and use my magnet to adhere it down. And then I first tried to use some tape and tape over the craft foam, but the tape didn't want to stick to it. So I decided to stick the tape directly to my MISTI door instead. And this is removable, so it can just wipe off. You don't have to worry about it ruining the door of your MISTI. So I just kind of figure out where the stamp is going to lay and add a little bit of adhesive. I just put my finger over top of it and then add the adhesive behind so that it's going to land right where I want it to. And then I'll take those flowers and I'll set them on top of the panel and line them up right where I want them, and then close the door. And now that there's adhesive on the door of my MISTI, they're all stuck there and they won't go anywhere. They'll stay in place for as long as I need them to. So I'm going to grab some ink. I'm going to start with JennyCard Designs Wild Lilac ink. This is a beautiful purple color. So I'm going to ink up my craft foam and I'm going to stamp. And I'll stamp it twice to make sure that we get a nice solid impression. And now I've got a few pieces of cardstock underneath my MISTI mat just to create a little bit of a shim underneath there and raise my stamping surface up, because the craft foam stamps are not as thick as a normal photopolymer stamp. And it's not perfect, but it looks sort of like artistic. It's not solidly colored, like you'll see some of the little white lines in around the flower, but I liked it. I think it looked nice. And then I'll grab the next piece of cardstock and place that into my MISTI and use the magnet to hold it down and ink up with my next color. And for this flower, I'm using JennyCard Designs Sea Glass ink. So I'm going to stamp that a couple of times to make sure I get a nice solid impression. Okay, I'll use my cloth and I'll wipe off the craft foam, and I'll move to my third color, which is JennyCard Designs Bubblegum Pink. And I'll stamp that a couple of times as well. Now I decided I wanted to do my last card with a combination of all 3 colors. So I removed 2 of the stamps and left 1 in place, and then I inked that up with my bubblegum pink ink. I'm going to wipe that one off and then pick up the next flower and ink that with my wild lilac ink, and then move to the last flower and ink that with my sea glass ink. So now we've got these beautiful panels full of color and vibrancy, and we didn't really have to spend too much time coloring in or worry about shading or anything. I'm just not very good at that. I'm a stamper. I rather stamp than color. But for the greenery, I figured it was just too much work to try to cut them all out, and I wanted a little bit of green in there. So I just took some of my Altenew artist markers and I colored in the greenery, and then I grabbed a couple of yellow Copic markers and colored in those little flowers. This is just simple, quick coloring. I didn't do any shading or anything fancy. I just slapped some color down. I'm going to trim these panels to get them to the size that I want, and then I'm going to grab the sentiment, and the sentiment says, "Together is a wonderful place to be," and I really like that. So here's my little cardstock shims underneath my Misty mat. I'm going to take a couple of those out. I don't think I need them all because I'm stamping with the regular photopolymer stamp here. So I'm going to ink that up with the same ink I'd used previously, the JennyCard Designs Onyx Black. And I'll ink that a couple of times too, so we get a nice solid dark impression. And I'm going to stamp the same sentiment on all 4 of my cards. And here's what we've got so far. And then I'm going to go to my stash and I'm going to pull out some card bases and some coordinating colors of cardstock. I'm going to create little matte layers to layer my flower panels on, and then adhere those to my white card bases. So I think this is just a nice, simple and elegant card set. And then I thought I just needed one more thing. I grabbed a bunch of sequins. This is the Neat and Tangled sequins. It's a snowfall sequin mix. So I'm just going to adhere all of those to my panel, just sprinkle them around, putting some on the flowers and in and around, no specific rhyme or reason. And I used a little bit of liquid adhesive to adhere those down. And I did that to all 4 of my cards. And that's it. So these cards are done. Here's a close-up look at all of my cards and that fun sort of whimsical watercolory look that we got using those craft foam stamps. And I think that's super neat. You can wipe off those foam stamps and keep them in the package with your stamp set, and you can use them for future projects. You can use them as many times as they'll hold up until they fall apart. So that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for stopping by and spending a little bit of your time with me here today. I appreciate all of the support. You can find this stamp set along with many others at the Glitter and Ink craft store located in Belleville, Ontario. This is a Canadian craft store that carries many of the products from all of the companies that we know and love. You can use my promo code JENNY10 to get 10% off of your order of $50 or more. Some restrictions apply. See in the description down below for more details. So tune in next month for another Glitter and Ink inspiration video. I hope to see you there. Have a lovely day. Bye!